Hello everyone,
Yeah.
welcome to the session on putting your wellbeing first. We've got sort of 5 minutes to allow everyone to make sure they get here. So in that time, we thought we could use it to do something that people traditionally find quite therapeutic and good for their wellbeing. So feel free to try and do some colouring on the screen. It's sort of a group effort. Don't worry about being in the lines. It is on Zoom. It is not flawless. But we can create some colour and give ourselves something to look at whilst we're waiting. So what we're going to do today, I'm so pleased so many of you have joined us. It's really good to see you kind of taking the time out of your conference week to talk about wellbeing, have a think about wellbeing and put your wellbeing first. I am Stephanie Child. I'm Learning and Development Coordinator at SHP. I'm going to be leading the session, but we've got some people that are supporting me and that will be talking with you in breakout groups during the session. So we've got Lou Tyson.
Hi everyone.
Matthew Gunter.
Hello.
Christelle.
Hi everyone.
Matt Radford.
There. Hi.
And Julia.
Hi everyone.
Cool. So we make up part of a wellbeing group, sort of working wellbeing group that has been created during COVID times to allow us to think more about wellbeing, how we can support staff wellbeing. And out of that has come the Wellbeing Hub and the monthly focus topics. So this month is Stress Awareness Month, and yesterday was the International Stress Awareness Day. So partly why we started doing some drawing is something that can kind of help you relax during stressful times. Also, I think it's really apt that we're doing this session today. It's the first day of lockdown, take 2. We know we've got at least 4 weeks of being locked down. So we have to shift how we are working and how we're interacting with others again. So what we're hoping today is that it will give you an opportunity to take some time to think about your own well-being, maybe reflect on what you can do to support yourself at this time and moving forward, and also to help kind of shape the wellbeing campaign within SHP. We're doing some wellbeing focus months, but it'd be really good to hear from you about what you would like us to do to help you as well. So kind of hopefully you get some time to think about yourself and then think about how we can kind of all work together in the future. So today we've got sort of 6 things we are going to be doing. So we've got an energizer that Matthew Gunter is going to lead us in shortly. We'll then be doing some introductions and kind of building connections between each other. There are currently quite a lot of people, 34 people in the group, so we're going to go into smaller groups to kind of have a chance to get to know each other. We will then be doing some other breakout groups about what wellbeing means to you, and going on to think about barriers to self-care and how SHP can help you. We're going to finish with another wellbeing activity taken from the Wellbeing Hub as well, so hopefully we can kind of start and finish with wellbeing activities. Okay. What I would like to think about is the kind of the space we've got here today. So we all cope with stress differently, so please be non-judgmental in kind of how other people may view well-being, how other people may cope with stressful situations. We'll get the most out of this. Everyone will get the most out of this if we interact with each other, if you kind of share your thoughts and feelings. We're going to break it down so you do a lot of that in breakout groups rather than as a whole, just so that it's easier to kind of talk to people. So along with that, please be open about kind of how you're feeling and what SHP could do. If there's really anything lacking, do let us know in those groups. And we are recording this session as a whole. So anytime we're all together in this big space, we're going to be recording it. But when you're in your breakout groups, it's a confidential space. No one will kind of know it's you that said something in that space. Out of this, we're going to be recording kind of your feedback and your comments. And it would be really good if you're happy for us to share sort of some of the kind of overarching themes that come out of that to help us. But it will be anonymized. No one will know kind of who participated in this and led it through. So hopefully you are happy with what we're going to be doing today. It's only an hour and a half, so we're not going to be having any breaks or anything. So if you do need to run off, just mute yourself, turn your camera off. You can just have a minute or so away. So first, I will hand over to Matt to do our wellbeing activity. It will last sort of 5 minutes or so.
5 minutes.
Cool. Thank you very much, Matt.
Okay. Hello, everyone. We're going to do just quite a simple breathing exercise, which is going to involve some movement as well. But I'm going to try and explain this very quickly in a way that we can make the activities that we do, especially anything that involves anything which is kind of touching on anything to do with kind of meditation or mindfulness, and making sure that we do that in a trauma-informed way. And one of the ways in which we do this is that we give people options, so that there's a sense of empowerment, that as well as kind of receiving invitations rather than instructions about what we do, that you also have, as well as receiving the guidance, that you also have the autonomy of choosing the option that you would like to go through with during the exercise. So it's going to be very simple. I'll go through the 4 different kind of options. So the first one will be, if you've got enough space, and I'll just demonstrate to start off with, is that you can stand, and then on an in breath, which starts in the chest, as you breathe, bringing the arms up to the sides, and on the exhale, just gently floating the arms back to the sides of the body. Alternatively, if you don't want to stand up and you've got room either side of you, you can do it from a sitting position, sorry. So raising the arms up to the sides and gently letting the arms float back down to the sides of the body. Again, if you feel self-conscious about this as well, another option, and if you don't feel like moving around at this point, a third option will be that you can simply imagine yourself doing the movement. So with the in-breath, you can just imagine the arms coming up, or just imagine an opening of the body. And on the exhale, similarly, you can visualize yourself lowering the arms back down to the sides of your body, or imagine a withdrawing back into yourself. And then the fourth option, which I've just thought about today, is if you just don't feel like doing it at all for whatever reason, which is completely okay, just observe the fact that you don't want to do it, and just accept that, and be comfortable with your own choice as well. Okay, I'm going to do it from a seated position. And the other option as well is you can either keep your eyes open, or you can have your eyes closed for the duration of the exercise as well. So first of all, we just take half a minute or so just to situate yourself in the space where you're at. Just take a couple of minutes just to focus in on the natural flow of the breath. Not trying to change it in any way at the moment. If it's long, it's long. If it's short, it's short. Just accept, just notice. And then when you feel ready, whichever option you've chosen, on the in-breath, either move or visualize the arms coming up to the sides above the head and opening up of the body. And on the exhale, just a slow, gentle lowering down. You can either go with the pace of my own breathing or start working at your own pace. Inhaling, letting the arms float up to the sides, or imagining that feeling of opening, of floating upwards. And then on the exhale, almost imagine a cushion of air, just slowly, gently returning the arms back to the starting position. And continue, either eyes open or eyes closed. If it becomes too intense with the eyes closed, then just open it up and locate yourself back in the room. And just see how diligently you can follow every single part of the movement. There'll be a tendency to potentially kind of rush the end of either the inhale or the exhale. See how subtly you can pay attention to either the imagination, the thought of the movement. Are you feeling it in the shoulders? Is it altering the sensations in the fingertips? And then we're going to take 2 more movements without any instructions, just to be in your own space with the movement. And then completely in your own time, just finish the movement that you're on. Come back to the position that you'd like to occupy for the rest of the session. Just take a moment just to give a little bit of a look to everyone else on the screen. Just acknowledge that even though we're in our own space, we've got this very strangely useful but abstract space that we're sharing. And I'll hand back to Steph.
Thank you, Matt. That was really nice. I always appreciate the opportunity to kind of enter the space and take a minute to do something like that whilst we're starting. So thank you, everyone. What we're going to do now is go into breakout rooms. I will share my screen again. So we're going to be doing some introductions, getting you talking to each other. One of the things that's come up a lot in the conference sessions that I've been to is that actually it's really nice getting to talk to each other and different people you might not normally meet. So we're going to build on that here today. So you're going to be in groups of 8 or 9, and you will be taking it in turns to introduce yourself. So one person's going to start, they'll say their name, where they work, and then 2 quick facts about themselves. It might be where you live, what you like doing. I, for example, quite like knitting and baking. You can go broad, you can go very specific, but from there, who the group as a whole, if you've got something in common with that person, you're going to put up your hand. And then we've got a facilitator in each group that will say who goes next. So that person that goes next will give the name of the person, and you then introduce your name, where you work, and 2 quick facts about yourself. And it sort of goes round in a loop. Lee?
Yeah, can I just clarify? So it's the person, you don't go in the order of people who've got something in common.
So whoever's got something in common puts their hand up, and then from that group, the facilitator will choose someone with their hand up. Okay.
Got you. Thank you.
Okay. So when you're chosen, you'll say what it was that you had in common with that person, and then you'll say your name, where you work, and the 2 facts about yourself. and someone else will go after you. Okay. Can I add in someone that's just coming in now to a breakout room?
Yeah, they should show up on the list as being unassigned. But if you open the rooms, then you might, it might be easier to do it after that.
Oh no, I can do it now. Okay, so you're going to automatically go in your room. You've got 6 minutes for this first round. You're going to come back, and then we're going to do another round with another random group of people. Okay? Off you go. Into smaller groups, and we will have another go. So, okay. So this time we're not going to have this time there is not going to be a facilitator in each group. So if you work out between you, if you want someone to facilitate and kind of choose who goes next, or if you decide who is going to speak if more than one person has their hand up. Okay, I'm going to reduce the time this time, so we've got 4 minutes instead because there are much less people. Okay, ready for take 2. Off you go.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
Welcome back again. Did you manage to finish that second round?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of
Excellent.
our persons disappeared, so he didn't get a chance. I'm not sure where he went.
Yeah, I think he was stuck with us trying to connect his audio. So he is here and he can participate now. Thank you for doing that, everyone. I'm going to keep mixing the groups up as we go throughout. So we've got 2 more breakout rooms to actually discuss things about well-being. So you should hopefully kind of feel connected to the people you've already spoken to, and it will help with some of the next bit. Lou is going to do the next bit whilst I prepare more breakout rooms. So I'll hand over to her.
Great, thanks, Steph. So as Steph mentioned at the beginning, we are going to do some breakout rooms looking at what well-being means to you. And then we're going to look at what are the barriers to self-care and how can SHP help you, and what do we want to include in some of the well-being sort of campaigns that we're doing. So we're starting off with what does well-being mean to you, but before we go into the breakout rooms, we're going to do some polls basically. So we're going to use Slido, which is like an online polling thing. So I've just put a link in the chat, so if you can access the chat you can use that. If any problems with that, you can also go direct to a browser and go to slido.com and enter the code My Wellbeing Matters. So I'm also going to put that in the chat. When you get there, you should see a question that says, name a wellbeing activity you do for your own self-care. And you can put in as many answers as you like.
Okay.
So just put them in the different boxes. So when you start writing in the first box, it will bring up a second box. And then when you start writing in the second box, it'll bring up a third, etc. So put in there some of your wellbeing activities that you engage with.
Where am I finding this?
So this is on the link that I've popped in the chat, Jeremy,
The link.
which should just pull up a browser straight away and take you straight to a kind of polling. Is anyone having any problems accessing Slido? Edith, I think you just put your hand up. If you can see the chat at the bottom of the screen, if you click on that, there's a link in there which should take you straight through to a site. We're getting loads of good, well, not good, I'm not passing judgment, loads of responses, so thank you. So I'm just going to share this actually, so everyone can see. So this, you can see there that the ones that are coming up the biggest, they've had the most responses of the same thing. So listening to music is obviously something that lots of people are doing, walking and meditation and cooking as well. But there's lots of other things in there about takeaways and planting and telly and crying, which is a great wellbeing activity that I also like to engage in. So we've got 25 responses in there, which is fantastic. Thank you, everyone. I'm just going to give you another 30 seconds to add in any final thoughts there for your wellbeing activity. So any wellbeing activity you do for your own self-care. Yoga's coming through as well as something that lots of people do. Great. So just the last couple of seconds and then I'm going to move on to the next question. So I'm going to stop that share. Thank you, everyone. So keep on that same page and I'm going to open up another question, which is how many wellbeing activities did you plan to complete?
Louise, I don't think I'm on there. I can't get, so I've clicked on the link.
Yep. And where's that taken you?
Nothing comes up when I click on it.
So just open a regular browser and Google Slido, and then the website will come up and you just want to put the phrase "My Wellbeing Matters" with no gaps. Just put "My Wellbeing Matters" in the box on the Slido website. So I can see some of you have started to answer the question there. How many wellbeing activities did you plan to complete in the last week? So don't stress yourself out trying to be super accurate, but just a general picture. In the last week, how many kind of activities did you plan to do? But like similar to the ones that we were just saying around yoga, cooking, anything for your self-care. So lots of people saying that they planned to complete 3 to 4 activities in wellbeing activities in the last week, which is great. It's good to know that people are planning that kind of thing in. Some people are doing it every day, which is lovely also. So I'm going to give you just another 20 seconds on that. Right, and those of you that have added things in the chat, that we will add those in later as well. We can add them in just to give a good picture of all the things that you've been saying. Okay, so last 2 or 3 seconds there, and then I'm going to take us on to the next bit. Okay. Lovely. Thank you, everyone, for doing that. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go into smaller groups again, and we are going to, so we're going to go into 2 rounds of breakout groups. And the first one, we're going to talk about what does well-being mean to you. So again, you're going to have a facilitator in each group who's going to help kind of frame that and take some notes. And we're going to do that first session, what does well-being mean to you, for about 10 minutes. And then we'll come back, do a bit of feedback, and then go on to the next bit, which will be looking more at the barriers. So the first one is what does well-being mean to you? And we're going to go into breakout rooms, 10 minutes. Steph, are we ready with those?
We are ready, yes. I will open them now and I'll give you a 5-minute and a 1-minute warning. Okay. Welcome back. No one came back early then, so I'm guessing that you were all still talking. Lou, shall I hand over to you to do some feedback?
Yes, sure. So we're going to just have some brief feedback from the group so we can get a general sense, everyone can get a bit of a sense of what was talked about across the board. So in terms of feeding back, we're just going to hear from the kind of facilitators in each group a bit of that broad sense. So Matt Radford, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I can do. So for us, there was, I think, if I was to summarize it with one word, it was kind of about separation. It was about just separating the time, taking time away. So there's lots of talk about getting out in the fresh air, enjoying that environment, enjoying time spent with friends and family, WhatsApp calls, and just activities that were very separate from the day to day. So it was taking yourself away from the commitments of the day, I would say.
Thanks, Matt. That's awesome. Who else do we have? Christelle or Matt Gunter from your group?
Yeah, so I think Matt was taking some notes for us in the comment section, but basically the same sentiment was shared regarding time and how time is spent and having a separate time for well-being. So and having boundaries in place. So at what point of the day to end, your work, and then to focus on something else and to move on from that. So things were mentioned like, Netflix, watching something, also using that as like an escape from our work and other areas of our life. Pamper time, activities like cooking, art, which one of our group members found very therapeutic. Looking at exercise, and yeah, having a routine. I think, especially now that circumstances are different with lockdown and COVID, so a lot of people are working from home, so they've had to compensate and substitute what they would usually do in between commuting to and from work. So also a major theme is time and having a separate time and putting that aside for well-being.
That's amazing. Thanks, Christelle. Matt, did you want to add anything?
There's one of the common things that was coming up as well is within that is like beforehand for the people that are working from home, having the transition time on the tube from going from one place to another. And even though that doesn't necessarily exist in the same way, just making sure that that's still something which is effective in the same way. So kind of still using the amount of time that you would do to have had that decompression or that transition into work, which seems really obvious, but I think it's very easily forgotten as well.
It's a really good point. Thank you. Julia.
Yeah, we had a lot of very similar things that, that it's really important to make that time for yourself. Also finding really positive ways to release our emotions, and that can be through talking or exercise or all different things we can do. So it's not just relaxing, sometimes it's actually using your energy as well. And also looking at that, knowing that it's okay to make that time for your self-care, even during work time, that it's okay to take that moment away to do something to look after yourself. We talked about how like working at home can really blur those lines, and it can almost be more difficult because there can be a feeling of guilt that should I be doing this, shouldn't I be doing this? But it's really good to create that time for yourself and know that you've got a space that you can go and look after yourself. And actually when you come back, you're more productive and you're better at what you're doing for taking that time. I can't hear you, Lou.
Oh, thank you. In our group, we had some discussions about kind of how broad wellbeing is, and sometimes it's not something that you necessarily enjoy doing or want to do. but about the benefit that you're going to get from it, and what the reasoning for that is. So thinking about preventing burnout and engaging with things like journaling or exercising, even though we don't necessarily want to in that moment, but the benefit that we're going to see from it. Okay, thank you everyone for feedback. So we're going to go into our second breakout room in a moment, and this breakout room is going to be for a little bit longer, hopefully, if we've got time. And what we're going to do is look at the barriers to self-care practice. So we've talked about some of the benefits, we've talked about some of the things that it means in practice, but we want to look at what are the barriers to actually making that happen. And then we're going to build on that by thinking about what can SHP do to support, and what can we look at as part of the Wellbeing Working Group work to support some kind of overcoming some of those barriers. So we're going to go out into different groups, and again you'll have a facilitator in your group, and we will come back and do a little bit of feedback afterwards.
Cool. I am going to do one of them, so some of you will stay with me in the main space so that if anyone drops out I can support them. So you'll have smaller groups. Okay, off we go. Welcome back. So you've got 7 seconds before everyone else joins us.
I think if we could circulate the EAP phone number, it would be good.
Yeah, I'm going to put that in the chat now, Kim. Thank you.
Okay, we are all back. Welcome back. Thank you for having those discussions in your group. I hope there's some ideas that we can sort of take forward and gave you some food for thought. We'll feedback again from the facilitator or kind of a spokesperson from the group. Matt, you are right in the middle of my screen. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, no problem at all. Okay, so we started off talking about the barriers, and I mean it was really around time was a major factor. So everything else being a priority, sort of becoming addicted to the task rather than the time around the task, and let me just get my notes back up. Yeah, so it was really about falling into bad habits, motivation not being there, and things like that. Talked about how there was also self-consciousness came up around trying things new when there isn't a culture of self-care and well-being. It's being brave enough to do something different and break the cycle and make that change, and that can feel quite intimidating, or the phrase was just being really self-conscious about doing differently. We went on to talk about what we could adopt, what good practice and best practice could be adopted and shared, and the overriding headline there was reflective practice really came up as the thing that people have experienced, whether that's consistently or not, and just found that to be a really, really helpful thing to do within the workplace. So I'll leave it there. I'll let the other groups feedback, but that's just some headlines from our group.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt. Julia, would you like to go next with your group?
Yeah, we spoke about loads. So yeah, the barriers were, the high workload, having to multitask, being too tired, having kind of competing demands on our attention. There was also a little bit about, a lot of people are actually doing a lot of kind of unpaid caring work in their private lives. So there's a lot of domestic responsibilities, and there can be a lack of community to support with that. And also the kind of increased stress during lockdown. and not always feeling you're getting enough support with that. So there was a lot of the kind of barriers that came up. Lots of things were spoken about how maybe things could be improved or helped on. So the team maybe having space and time to support each other. Again, managers need to be on board on that. We also had actually senior managers need to give that dedicated time as well. It really needs to come down from the top. But at the same time, we don't want that to be stressful. You have to take this time out for your well-being, but you're feeling like you can't because you do too much work. So there's a balance of allowed the time, but not maybe, not put under stress to have to take it. We spoke a little bit as well about sick leave and disability leave, and that, there may be an improvement on how disability leave is used, so that some people that have issues are maybe not using up all their sick leave. So there was something around that as well, and the pressure that puts on to your well-being. Also income, is our income enough to pay our rent? These things are really impacting our well-being, and can be really stressful and impact our work as well. We also spoke about reflective practice, and then maybe having more one-on-one opportunities for that with someone who's not part of the team, so people feel they can talk a little bit more. And also the fact that there's not a provision for all teams, and some teams kind of either don't have it at all, or have had to do it as a peer-led group because they don't have the provision. And then we just spoke a little bit about the wellbeing groups emails, and how do we get people more involved, and that the emails can get lost in the midst of our daily work. Even if we're really wanting to do it, they can just get lost because we're doing so many other things, and that only some people know the wellbeing page is there. Someone in our group said they didn't know until last week when they did the wellbeing training, and then they knew to go and look. Somebody else said it had been part of their induction, so that was really useful to know because it was part of the induction. So just kind of trying to think about ways that people can know what's there, be given the time to do it, but also be given the support to have that time, so they don't feel too under pressure with their workload.
Thanks, Julia. Christelle and Matt Gunter.
I got put into a different group actually. So.
Oh, did you? Oh, sorry. Christelle, would you like to? Sorry, I did that. Oh. Is Christelle still with us? Christelle, you're muted if you're with us. There we go. Okay. Christelle, we can't hear you at the moment, so I'm going to go to Lou instead.
Thanks, Steph. Yeah, we spoke a bit about how we often plan to do things, or sometimes we can plan to do wellbeing activities and then not do them, and the kind of guilt associated with that, which is a bit of a vicious cycle. So we're appreciating Matt's comments at the beginning about kind of accepting where we're at and not punishing ourselves for it. We talked about, the barriers around getting caught up in things, and especially at home, working from home can be really intense, and you can just end up working for really long periods of time without taking a break. In terms of support and what's available, some people talked about your email, Steph, the stress email that went out earlier this week with the bell curve. So might be good to give a shout out to people that there's the monthly email comes from Steph, but it's Steph does all that work, but it comes from SHP Learning and Development. So if anyone didn't see the stress monthly email on Tuesday, go back and have a little look for it. It was Tuesday morning, first thing on Tuesday morning. And then we talked a fair bit about the Employee Assistance Programme as well, and that's a great resource that's available to people. People shared their experiences of accessing the Employee Assistance Programme, and we just clarified that it's free and you can get support very quickly. So I've put the details of that in the chat. And also I'll reiterate about reflective practice as well, because that came up. That is really important, and it would be really good if it was more available.
Oh, I didn't think it would go over it like that. Okay, Christelle, are you back with us with sound?
Christelle says technical difficulties in the chat and is putting some things in the chat.
Okay.
So if you want to go to you and then we can see those.
So we were talking about similar things, so about having time to actually do these things, and again, the challenge of planning it and maybe not following it through if we're tired, if we've had a long day. I closed it so that I could do these, and now I can't find it amidst all the other things. I think some of the other bits was about kind of ways to improve it, was about holding each other to account as a team. So if we see that someone hasn't had lunch or someone should have gone home, encouraging them to actually go home, and that we don't need to work forever. We have hours we're supposed to work, and then it's absolutely fine to leave at the right time. Talked as well about the challenge between hostels and floating support. So hostels have a clear handover and a time when you leave because someone else has taken over, whereas in sort of floating support and other services, you are responsible entirely for when you kind of do and what the cut-off point is. Things too that SHP can do, talked about managers discussing things in supervisions and managers kind of, supporting others with that and making sure it is important and discussed. And I forgot the other thing. About having like team lunches and team breakfasts around around team meetings and things, so that it gives people a chance to naturally get together and talk, and it's more enjoyable around a time when everyone has to be there anyway. Cool. So others from Christelle was having challenges with the home environment. The lines are blurred between home and work life. So we need to have strong boundaries to not let that go. Emphasis is on the individual to manage the time in the day and no longer kind of be held accountable for the team, which is what we talked about as well. Okay, I think that was all the feedback from that. I'm aware it is 2:29. Thank you so much everyone for being a part of this and feeding in. We'll collate the feedback and kind of share what was said more widely and use it to support us moving forwards with wellbeing and getting more people talking about it and more people being a part of it. What we wanted to finish on was an opportunity to do a wellbeing activity, which is actually on the Wellbeing Hub. So if you're happy to stay for an extra sort of 5-6 minutes of your time, it would be really nice if you could just finish doing this wellbeing activity with us. If you have to go off, thank you very much for participating. It's been so nice seeing so many faces doing this with us, so thank you. I'm going to share the screen and go through where you can find it. Oh no, that's not shared right. I'm going to reshare the screen. Okay, so on the from the intranet, we've got the wellbeing section, and we have the monthly focus is always going to be up here. At the moment it's stress, and we've got here some short clips that you can use to take some time for yourself. So we're going to finish today with the ABC equilibrium technique. It's just going to play on here. So if you would like to turn your camera off and mute yourself, feel free. It'd be really good if you can stay around if you are happy to. This is 4 minutes and 13 seconds, so hopefully you can enjoy. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm here today to introduce a stress management technique to you called the ABC Equilibrium Technique. And this stands for A is for awareness, B is for balance, and C is for your core relaxation and connection to your values. So this can be done stood up or sat down. There's some bits that might be a bit better stood up if that's what you'd like, or I'm going to demonstrate it to you sat down because I know some people are more comfortable with that. So I want you to start by looking around your environment, wherever you are, and see if you can spot 3 things that are blue. And then is there 2 things that you can hear in your environment? What can you hear? And then bring your awareness to your other senses. What can you feel? Your clothes maybe, or the air, or the seat? And what can you feel against your skin? And what can you smell? And the taste in your mouth, what's that like? And now just bring your awareness to your breath. Don't do anything, just be aware of the breath coming in and out of your body. And then spread that awareness all the way down, all through your body. Be aware of everything, all through your body, all the way to the floor. And now take that awareness to your balance. Now again, if you're stood up, this will be through your feet. If you're sat down, it will be through your sit bones. And I want you to play with that balance a bit, either through your feet and your toes, you can sway, or your sit bones and your hips. Have a little sway, and it will find the center of your balance. Just find that center, but make sure you've got good posture. Think of your spine being really long and straight. Make sure your shoulders are dropped. Your head is balanced nicely on your neck and shoulders. And just take a moment in that position. And now bring awareness to where you hold tension in your body. And I want you to breathe into wherever that tension is. And as you exhale, think, relax. Don't do anything, don't force it or push it, just think, relax. Then relax. And where do you hold that tension? Is it in your forehead? Do you need to soften your forehead when you breathe out and relax? Or is it in the shoulders? We've got enough tension in our shoulders, so breathe in and relax. Or is it in your chest, your hips, your stomach? Where are you holding that tension? Just take a few more breaths into wherever the tension is now. As you exhale, think, relax. And now I'd like you to take a moment to connect with something that's important to you, something that you value, something that means a lot. And this might be a supportive person that you've got an image of, or a place that really means a lot to you, or a moment. Just spend a few moments now just connecting with that. And then to finish, we'll take a deep breath in and release. Now I hope that has helped to ease some tension, release some stress, help you feel relaxed and calm, and that this helps you have a positive and calm rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for staying for the end. Thank you, Julia, for filming that. I really do love that one. Cool. So yeah, we don't want this to be the end. Feel free to get in touch with us at learning@shpe.org.uk if you've got any other ideas, any other feedback that you would like to have included in what we're doing. But thank you for spending the time with us today.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye
everyone.
bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.